Hello and welcome to The Nutrition Doctor is in the Kitchen. I'm PK Newby and I am so excited that tonight I'm going to be making with you fresh tomato sauce. It all begins with a big batch of Farmers Market fresh summer sweet tomatoes. We're going to chop them up with a number of standard ingredients like peppers, onions, garlic, fresh herbs like parsley, oregano, and basil. We'll throw it all into a stock pot, simmer it up, and then we'll be eating summer fresh tomato sauce in the middle of winter. So stick around and I will show you how it's done. I'm going to get started with washing up all of these tomatoes. Now, it looks like a lot, but they shrink down a lot. Well, cook down a lot as you simmer them. So don't be astounded by all of the tomatoes. And I just want to point out that these are different types of tomatoes. The standard are plum tomatoes for tomato sauce. Use whatever makes you happy. It varies, ask your local farmer. Today I'm using a mix of field tomatoes as well as this gorgeous assortment of heirloom tomatoes. Heirloom tomatoes have a lot of big, beautiful flavors, and this whole entire batch was, wait for it, $5. $5. That's because they're called seconds, which means that you might not want to throw them in a salad, but it's perfect for sauce. So I'm going to get all of these washed up and then we're going to get our sauce going. It's a lot. So actually, it really isn't as many as I thought now that I'm looking at it, and so it really is the right amount for sauce. You will see, trust me, you'll be amazed how much they cook down. But let's get everything started. It begins with extra virgin olive oil. You can start with about a quarter cup or so. Onions, also from the farmer's market. There's very little you cannot get from the local farmer's market at this time of year. I'm going to save these for vegetable stock. When you are peeling onions, try to take off as little of the skin as possible because a lot of the very nutritious phytonutrients, which are basically plant chemicals called flavonoids, are located in the outer skins. So you want to be able to keep those so that you get them into your body. I'm just using a basic white onion here. Spanish onion is fine, whatever you want. Sometimes I do actually onions kind of more strings, but today I'm just doing basic chopped. If you hate chopping vegetables, then you can actually do the whole thing in a food processor if you have one of those chopping mechanisms. I personally kind of enjoy chopping vegetables. I find it therapeutic. Look at that, already one done. Got our second one happening. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to season this with a little salt and pepper. So that is going to be happening over here. The next thing I want to prepare are my peppers. Poblano peppers are on the spicier side, but it varies quite a lot. So I've had poblanos that taste exactly like green peppers, and I've had poblanos that taste like jalapenos. Be careful. You know what? They're actually smelling kind of spicy. I'm going to give them a taste before I use the other one. Oh, wow. That is really spicy. I once had a very fiery poblano experience, so I'm going to just use the one for now. We're going to add those in. Now with tomato sauce, again, saving these for a stock. With tomato sauce, use what you like. I'm using, this is a standard assortment of peppers and onions, spicy pepper and onion. But it totally varies with mood, it varies with what's fresh at the market, varies with when I make it, whatever time of year. Do what makes you happy. Add these in too. Okay, so we have our onions and peppers slowly cooking down on the stovetop, and I've moved that down to low because I need to give myself time to cut all of these tomatoes. What I'm going to do is chop a goodly amount of them, and the remainder I'm going to puree in here. So this is sort of my own crushed tomatoes, and this will help to thicken the sauce. So I'm just gonna get started with that. It doesn't really matter, you know, cut them however you want. They really are gonna break down pretty well. So a rough chop is good. And I happen to like a chunky tomato sauce. If you don't like that, you could puree later or do whatever you want. You could puree the whole thing. I would recommend it though, because you can just get a lot of good texture by doing it this way, and it's delicious. So it's gonna take me, you know what, I'm gonna time it for you because you're certainly not going to watch me. So let's see what time it is. It's 7:11 right now. We'll see how long it takes me to chop all of these, and then I'll let you know. So I'm going to add in the rest of the raw tomatoes, and I've brought it all up to a boil. I'm going to stir those in. So you can see in the 20 or so minutes that we were bringing all those raw tomatoes up to a boil. That's incredible, isn't it? It looks like tomato sauce. It really does already. Of course, we haven't seasoned it or anything yet. So I'm going to throw in some black pepper. Love that. I only did a little bit before on the onions, you may remember. Definitely some more olive oil. And no doubt, all of these things will be adjusted later. We have some basil. So let's say this is about a tablespoon. This is a big vat, right? Oregano. Maybe the same amount, not quite. And yes, crushed red pepper. I said we like it spicy. If you don't like it, omit it. I am gonna add also a little bit more salt. Kosher C works really well, and I'm just adding a couple of pinches. So really, probably less than a teaspoon. I'm gonna give that a stir. Yes, now it's starting to smell like tomato sauce. Those are classic seasonings. Next thing, red wine. Okay, I'm gonna have to reopen that. I'll not show you that part, but I will add red wine once my cork becomes unwedged. If you don't drink alcohol, use some balsamic vinegar. That will work just as well, but you're gonna have to give me a minute. Okay, so during the chopping, I siphoned off this set of tomatoes. A lot of them are plum tomatoes, as I said, classically used in sauce, and I'm going to make them into a bit of a puree. That's going to help thicken our sauce. Okay, so to my tomatoes, I want to add some garlic, and it's easy to just puree it up with the tomatoes. I'm not going to chop it or do anything. So easiest way, give it a smash. It will generally come right out of the skin. This is a little bit stickier this time because it's fresh garlic from the market. So, you know, it hasn't been stored as long, but it's still pretty easy. Keep those for the stock. Perfect, so 5 cloves right here. What I'm going to do is add them right to here. All right. Oh, that's looking awesome. The other thing that I'm going to add is some tomato paste. And I know this from experience, which is why I'm going to do it prophylactically, meaning now. Otherwise, sometimes you can wait to see what happens with your sauce, and you might add some tomato paste later on. Add it right in here, and then it's all incorporated. I'll bet you already know that tomatoes are an incredible source of lycopene, which is a powerful carotenoid that's been related to reduced risk of prostate and other cancers. All right, this is going in. Look at how beautiful that puree is. Oh, I love it. It looks amazing. And it smells even better because it smells like gorgeous fresh tomatoes. It's nice and thick. Pour it in. Make sure you keep your finger on the blade, otherwise that will be added to your sauce, and that's just dangerous. Meanwhile, I found a bottle opener. So, you know, sometimes this happens when you recork wine and it doesn't work out. That's fine. And hopefully there's no cork in there. This is so much thicker now with that beautiful puree added. I am so excited. But it's going to take a while to really come together as a sauce. I'm going to bring it up to a boil, then I'll bring it down to a simmer, and I will leave the top off to just let it become nice and beautifully thick. And I'll keep you posted, but this is where the time comes in and why I said it's a project and it requires patience and love. So I'll let it simmer and reduce just as long as my husband can wait for dinner. Okay, so it's been about 3.5 hours and this sauce is unbelievably thick and rich and very, very hot. So I hesitate to taste it, but of course we need to do that. So let's see how it is. Always tasting, it's very important. That is wonderful. It really just tastes like summer. Look how much this sauce has reduced. It is unbelievable. It started here, so it's reduced a good 2.5 inches or so. And really, if I hadn't started at 7:30, I would continue simmering this for longer, but it's fine. So in the interim, because it's been, again, about 3.5 hours, I did reseason. Sorry I didn't show you that, but I added some more dried oregano, dried basil, and more hot pepper. So I'd say about a tablespoon each. I also added an additional drizzle of olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and a little bit of honey. Honey is for balance, so sometimes you need it, sometimes you don't. It's all to taste. So that's what I did about halfway through. And I am set on the seasonings. The only other thing I'm going to do to finish this sauce off is add some fresh herbs. You don't really need to add that in the beginning because it doesn't make sense. You're doing it at the end to freshen the flavors. So I've got some fresh oregano here. It's sort of like thyme. You just pick off the leaves and they come right off the stem. See, watch. There you go. Okay, thanks for sticking around this long. Last but not least, we're going to add some freshly chopped parsley. I'm going to save the stems, and by the way, this is my little compost bowl. Well, if you have a compost for me, I'm going to make it into stock. So that is ready to go. I have some basil. And by the way, I started off this video by saying this is a cooking project. Do not start this project at 7:30 as I did. As you might be able to see, it is after 11 o'clock. In this interim, I made a whole other dinner because we couldn't wait. So this is going to be for another time. Tomato sauce is a summer pleasure. I love doing it, but next time I'm going to go ahead and start earlier. But thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again. Thick, delicious, good to go.